And welcome to Tackle the Board. I'm Russ Reese, the Vegas line reader, joined by my co-host, Chris Euksuzian. You can find him at Chris Ebom. Pretty crazy weekend again. Just last night, that game was nuts. The Browns game versus the Ravens. We like the Browns. Of course, we got screwed. Lamar just couldn't stay in the locker room for another 5 minutes and just let us take our win. I won on one of my big plays. I had the Cardinals. My other big play, I did lose on the Steelers, but another pick that I just regretted. I just need to stick with one big play on the Sunday. The free picks, they also were a little rough. We had that craziness happen at the end of the Mahomes with the Dolphins. He threw 3 interceptions in the game and still found a way to hit the over in that game. What were some of the other games? I know you hit on the Chargers, right? You had the Chargers under you had?
Yeah, I love the Chargers under. It was at 49. They started off pretty hot with 27 points. They don't look too good because Matt Ryan just went down the field left and right. Every time I checked on him, he was at like the Chargers 20. And I was like, oh, man, this is terrible. But then I started looking on like the live line. So it was only 51, so I pounded that as well. So it stayed that way. They didn't score till the fourth quarter, I think. So overall, that was good. We got kind of screwed on the Eagles under. That was a game. That was a game I really liked. Eagles came out firing, which I was shocked about. Yeah. That was something I didn't think they were going to be able to actually do. It's weird because Doug Peterson, he always he doesn't really have a good game plan for Wentz, and I almost feel kind of bad for him because it's like Wentz has a lot of talent, but like he just like throws him out to the wolves. And he's just like, we're gonna run these plays where you're not gonna be successful, and then all of a sudden when Hurts is in, like they're running the ball like a lot, and it's just like all these plays are for him, and it's just like he looks like a genius once Hurts comes in, and it's like it's all messed up there overall. I think they're gonna start playing well with Hurts because I think Peterson honestly just likes him better. It's just he likes his skill set. I think he can mold him a little bit more because he's a younger guy. I think Wentz is more kind of just who he is, and I think they probably butt heads when it comes to that. And the defense has been playing well pass-wise. McLeod got hurt. I think he's going to be out for the year, which is big. But overall, the Eagles came out pretty good. They almost blew the game, but they still won outright, which is huge for them. Now they're going to be going to Arizona, so we'll talk about that later and everything. Pretty crazy week overall. The Chiefs, a game that I liked, -7. They one time a coach actually makes the right decision and decides to kick a field goal. So then he can get the ball back with 40 seconds to try and score a touchdown to try to get that quick score. I never see that, Russ. That's why Flores is a good coach. Honestly, it sucked. It screwed me over. But I've always said I like Flores a lot. I think he's a very good coach. He's opposite of Lynn. Lynn's just pure trash. I wish he was a coach for that game. He would have ran out the clock and not even scored. Just the same situation with the under in the first half. They went and they ran again, and then they weren't able to get the field goal unit out, and then they couldn't score right before halftime with a field goal. So the same thing happened again with Lynn. They got down the field, and then Herbert's like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "He's just trying to get the field goal unit out there," and they had to get set up, and the clock ran out again. And I was like, "Oh my goodness! Thank you so much, Lynn. You are the worst coach ever."
There was some crazy bad beats that Browns game, and then I remember I sent out a free pick on Sonny Michel under on his yards. Cam Newton got benched, and then Patriots aren't even trying to score. They're just running the ball. So Sonny Michel got the last 3 carries of the whole game just to give him some carries, and it ends up going over by 2 yards. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, you can't just try to pass and get something going. So that was pretty nuts that loss. But we're going to get going here. We'll jump into the first game. First game, Chargers at the Raiders, -3.5. The over-under is at 53. This is a game I'll probably lean the Chargers here. When this spread first came out, it kind of just jumped out at me that I saw the Raiders, who actually won -1 on the road against the Chargers already this season, and they're only -3 at home. The spread has moved to -3.5, but I feel like this should have been probably at 4 to open up at. So I looked into the game. We saw that Ruggs is actually not playing in this game, and the defense is just banged up. They're 25th in defensive yards allowed, so these guys are much worse than their record shows. And the Raiders defense, the last 4 games, they've given up 37 and a half points per game. So this team is just a mess. I don't really like taking the Chargers, but this is a spot where if I had to lean, I would take the Chargers getting the points. They could lose by a field goal in this game, but I'll take 3.5 with the Chargers against the Raiders here.
I see where you're going with the Chargers here. I'm looking at the Raiders. They're ranked 30th in NFL in points against, rush defense, and pass defensive yards per game, 25th, both in the NFL. Defense is just not good at all. Abrams is all banged up with a concussion now. I don't know if he's going to play now. There's young safety who's real solid. He's probably the heart of that defense, honestly. I really like the over 53.5. I'm not sure about Thursday night games going over typically. But I feel like at this point that the Chargers and the Raiders are going to put up points. I think Herbert's going to eat this game. I think he's going to score a lot. I don't know if I can proceed take him at 3.5, but I think the Raiders come out here fired up, ready to roll, especially getting embarrassed against the Colts. I think they're going to put up a good amount of points. If I'm taking anything, I'm taking the over 53.5.
Yeah, I just can't get a read on that Raiders game. I figured last week was a game where they should have came out and be fired up. And for them to just lay an egg and get killed in that game, now it's making me nervous about that team. They did this last year, end of the season. They started falling apart. So I don't know. They're just a team. I'll probably just avoid that game completely anyway. The next game, we got the Bills -6.5 at the Broncos. And the over-under is at 50. Who do you got here?
This is a real interesting game. So Denver ended up coming slinging last week against Carolina. Locke looked really good. This is like kind of the Locke that I feel like he could be, like a gunslinger, just doesn't care. And like you got Jerry Jeudy, you got Phillips in the run game. I think I always feel like there's potential with this Denver team. But it's like, should I really go against the Buffalo Bills? Like they're just the hottest team right now. Like Jared Allen is just so accurate. Like, he just hits everybody perfectly. Diggs was an incredible pickup for him. Run game is, like, nowhere to be found for the most part. They're ranked 22nd in rushing yards per game, but they're ranked 9th in scoring offense. I think Allen's just – not even with just his legs. I think his arm's been amazing, and he's been super accurate. And when I look at this game, it's Buffalo -6.5. The over-under is 50. I'm leaning over 50. I think Buffalo's going to score him out, and I think Luck should have a decent game against this defense. I mean, you're looking at what they do defensively. They're ranked 19th in both rush and pass yards per game. So I feel like Locke, he had a good game, get rolling a little bit. I think he can build that confidence, and he can get amped up for this game, especially at home. Their pass defenses were ranked 10th for Denver, which is like their strongest suit here for the most part. But I don't think it's going to matter because I think Allen's just been that good and that amazing. Once again, I just like the over again, over 50.
This is a game where I like the Broncos here. They actually have some motivation here as the Bills actually beat them 20-3 last year. So they embarrassed them last year. It's going to have some motivation. I've been saying this all year with the Broncos. Every time they've gotten blown out, the next game they came back, they beat the Dolphins. The whole public was all over the Dolphins that game. And then they beat the Chargers another game before that. They just keep bouncing back after these embarrassing situations. I mean, this is from last year, but giving a team motivation like this, I love when a team's motivated. They had that big win last week against the Panthers. I think they're going to bounce back, and they're due to win a couple games here. And they, like you said, they're 10th in defense. They're going to play great defense in this game. I'm just not buying into the Bills. Like you said, they just don't run the ball. I just have a feeling that this is just like a letdown type of game for the Buffalo Bills. So that's why I think the Broncos can keep this close. 6.5. That's a lot of points to give on the road. I mean, they took advantage of some teams. And both of those games that they just won, there was 2 primetime games in a row. So coming off 2 primetime games, everyone's getting all high and mighty on them too, seeing them on television. Yeah. So I definitely like the Broncos here. I think the Broncos can move the ball in this game. So covering that 6.5, I think they should get that. So we'll jump into the next game. We got the Carolina Panthers at the Packers, -8.5, and over-unders at 51. Who you got here?
Well, I'm looking at this game. Green Bay's been doing everything absolutely great. Number one scoring offense, number 10 rushing, passing number 2. I mean, they simply aren't doing anything wrong on offense. And Carolina just looks like the wheels are officially coming off for these guys. They just haven't been playing too well for the most part. I'm going to look at Green Bay's last game they played. So they played the Lions last game. They won 31-24. They were up 4 touchdowns. Two touchdowns. So they're up 14 points. That's what I meant to say. So they were at a point where they just got backdoored at the end of the day. I just don't know if Teddy Bridgewater has it in him to get that backdoor cover. If I were to lean something, I probably would lean the 8.5. The over/under 51 is kind of high for this game. If I had to lean something, I would lean the under on this game for the most part. But I guess my best lean for this game would be Green Bay -8.5.
Okay. Yeah, this isn't a game I love or anything, but if I were to lean, I'd actually take the Panthers here. I just feel like the Packers, they're kind of just getting bored. They're winning some easy games. They won two of their past 3 games were against the division. So when you start sweeping your division, you're getting comfortable. They had a letdown against the Jaguars earlier in the season. They just found a way to just win the game. I feel like that's what they're going to do here with the Panthers. This is a game that they just really won't get excited for. And the Panthers, they lost by double digits 2 times this year, and they were both to the Bucs. So I just love the team because they just play. This is the type of team that just plays hard every week for the coach, no matter what the competition is or the situation. So just because it's a game I don't see the Packers getting up for, I think that the Panthers can keep this close. So
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, they are playing really well for Matt Rule. He's very contagious. He's a guy that they love playing for. They have surprised a lot of people. Bridgewater has been competent. Yeah, I can see where you're coming with Carolina here. I just, like you said, probably not going to touch the game if I was going to take something. I'm looking at my board right now. I got all great stuff for Green Bay on my side. And then with Carolina, I have 19th scoring offense, 20th in rushing yards, 23rd in pass defense. I mean, these are just big red flags for me. That's why I like the 8.5 with Green Bay. But most of all, I probably would just stay away from this game.
Yeah, I hear you. The thing is, the Packers last week, it seemed like they just played perfectly, but they still just didn't get the cover. You know what I mean? It's just like the run game was going, everything was going perfect, and still somehow they didn't get the cover in that game. So we'll jump into the next game. We got the Bucs -5.5 at the Falcons, and over/unders 50.5. What do you got here?
Oh man, so everyone's been talking all year about Atlanta Falcons and just the disappointments they've done left and right. But their offense has been solid. They've been ranked 8th in rushing yards per game, 6th in passing yards per game, 16th ranked scoring offense, and 10th in rush defense. There's not going to be much running in this game. Tampa Bay's ranked 1st or ranked 10th. So no one's going to be able to move the ball. It's going to be a lot of throwing. I personally like the over in this game at 50.5. And honestly, I would almost lean the Falcons here getting 5.5. Being a division game, I know their worst spot is their pass defense, but Tom Brady hasn't been the best guy throwing the ball in this offense for the most part. So I would lean Atlanta plus the 5.5. Hold my nose. It's a stinky move, but I'm gonna stick with it. And then I would go the over 50.5.
I love when one of us says that we like the Falcons. So now that you're saying you like the Falcons, it doesn't sound too good. This isn't a game that I love or pick a side here, but I'm thinking that I actually like the over. Like this spread jumped up to 5.5. So I'm assuming, I don't know what the update is with Julio, but I know last game that spread on the Chargers moved all the way to -1 because the Falcons' offensive linemen were banged up. So that was just the game. I almost took the Chargers, but I think the Falcons are going to start to be a mess again. I just never know what the Bucs are going to do. They have to be motivated for me to trust them to cover the 5.5. But what I do like is actually the Bucs to. I would take their team total over because the offense didn't get going last game. So I think they will put up at least 20. I think I could see it probably. I didn't look it up, but it should be probably 27, 28 points. And the Bucks usually score points easily against weaker competition. They've been doing it all year long. So for them not to really get going last week, I would like the over. And who knows, the defense could get a pick six or a special teams touchdown in this game against the Falcons. So I'd probably go Bucks over for their team total in this matchup.
Yeah,
you never know what you're gonna get out of the Falcons.
I know.
You just don't know.
That's why I'm kind of holding my nose with the Falcons for the most part, because I feel like they could actually kind of keep this game close. I kind of like their offense with the Falcons. Like, they have a nice balanced attack. It's like, but what are they going to do defensively? Like, Tom Brady hasn't really thrown the ball that well. They're ranked 30th, and their points against is 17th. So it's like a little worse than average. So it's not the worst thing. So, like,
when was the last time you took the Falcons and won the bet?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. When you said balanced offense, I'm like, dude, you haven't won with the Falcons probably in forever.
Dude, I haven't. But you know what the saving grace for this though
is? They
kill
us every time.
See, but I know they do. They break my heart every time because, like, on paper, they actually aren't that terrible. But when the actual game starts, they're dog shit. Yep. So, but like, if you're looking for a part that's like Tampa Bay, their bad side, they're ranked 21st in pass yards per game. So their pass defense hasn't really been that great. So that's even more of a reason to take this over 50.5, and even possibly maybe even get a back door with Matt Ryan. I mean, that if they're just going to be like whatever, they're up like 10 points and they know they're going to win, they might just give up the touchdown to them. So that's like kind of the reason where I'm getting to this. So Falcons 5.5, over 50.5. We're rolling with it. We're just going to hold our nose and go for the ride.
Just don't bet the game, and then you can give it out. Because if you bet it, you know it's going to lose.
I'm not. I probably won't.
We got screwed with them all year. They killed us in the Packers early in the season. Just every time.
I had enough of a big sweat with the Falcons and the Chargers last week. But you know what? I knew that game was going.
That was going to happen. Yeah, that's why I avoided the Chargers, because I'm like, do I really want to watch this game and just lose my mind? Because I'm waiting for Lynn to get fired already.
And to jump back with that Chargers game for Thursday night, the fact that they didn't even score that many points last game, like, I think it's even more of a reason that the game's going to go away. I actually love it on Thursday, and I'm probably going to play it pretty hard, and I'm going to probably put it out. So
nice, that's smart. Yeah, and they didn't score the other games too. They got shut out one of the other games to the Patriots. So the offense, Eckler's back too. He's been back the past couple of weeks, so maybe he'll get going again. So, next game we got the Jaguars at the Ravens. The Jaguars are plus 13.5, and the over under is 46.5. This is a spot where the Ravens. We saw the game last night. They're coming off a huge emotional division win. I actually like the Jaguars here. Minshew's actually going to be playing in this game, so I think we got someone who wants to prove something, and he's that big of an underdog. Ravens in that game, the secondary just looked terrible. They were getting banged up with a bunch of injuries, so it wasn't so much. It wasn't so much a Baker playing great. It was just that the cornerbacks were just so banged up that all they had to do was quick passes, and they were moving down the field so easily. So I can see the Jaguars. I mean, they're getting 13.5. That's a ton of points. You got to play a perfect game to cover big spreads like this. So this is something where I probably combo the Jaguars and the over. This is all barring. I have to see what the weather is for Sunday. I mean, it's starting to get cold out, but this is something where I would like the Jaguars and the over. Lamar, he can easily get the 30 points in this game as well, but I just think the Jaguars get the 20 here. So I love the over as well. So what do you got here?
Yeah, I'm kind of opposite side with you here. I kind of like Baltimore here. The fact that the Ravens haven't really been able to – well, they did cover the last game being off of Fugazi go-around for the most part. But I don't know. I just feel like they're going to be able to gash these guys left and right. I mean, Jacksonville, when I look at one thing, Baltimore runs the ball. So how's the defense going to be rushing the ball-wise? Jacksonville's ranked 30th. And I think – you're just gonna be able to get chunks of yards with the kid from Ohio State. I can't think of his name. Begins with a D. Dobbins?
Dobbins.
Dobbins. The kid from Ohio State. He's gonna run wild. I think Lamar Jackson. He'll get bailed out. He'll run for like 30 yards real quick. I just think I don't know if Minshew's actually going to be able to score that much. I mean, actually, no, I stand corrected. Scratch that. I think he is going to score. So I actually like the over 46.5, but I think Baltimore can almost score 40 on these guys.
That's
So
true.
it's
I think over is probably the best play. Then we could probably agree on this game because I think Lamar is going to get in the 30s easily in this game. I just don't with the cornerbacks. I just don't trust how good the defense is going to play. That's the only issue with me for the Ravens. So would have to check the injury report.
and the main thing is, Minshew's gonna like really give it as always, like a Fitzpatrick kind of guy. So he's just gonna be slinging and trying to make moves left and right. So that might lead to the back door, like he said. But if I'm leaning something, I really like the over 46.5. If I'm gonna take a side, I think I'm gonna take a 13.5 because I think they have a shot of really killing these guys.
Yeah, it's all because of that game last week because it was a Monday night game and now they're the favorite. I don't know. I just feel like they're jumping up and down, going nuts. That was a huge game for them to keep them in the playoffs.
That was a huge game.
Yeah, so maybe I would lean towards more like the first half of the Jaguars too, because I just feel like the Ravens will just come out a little slow. That's all. They'll pour it on late in the week or late in the game. Next game we got the Seahawks -5.5 at the Washington Football Team. The over under is 44.5. Who you got here?
Yeah, so Seattle, they're laying the smackdown on the Jets. Probably my easiest survivor play of my life. I didn't even sweat that for 2 seconds. I thought actually the Jets would have put up a better performance, and then they missed 2 field goals to get over on my over, which was outrageous. How do you not score on, like, honestly, a monumental, historic worst pass defense in NFL history, and you don't even score a touchdown? I think, honestly, that Jets offense was the worst offensive play of NFL history, right?
The thing is with that game, we talked about it last week I did like the over too, but I completely forgot about the whole Jamal Adams situation about how he used to play for the Jets. That's kind of like the you're saying with the Eagles. That's what kind of scared me off because he's nuts and he probably wanted to shut down the Jets so bad in that game. You don't want a great safety like that getting any kind of motivation. So. That was the only reason I laid off. But that game still, you just barely missed the over in that game. The Seahawks put up so many points. It was ridiculous. But who do you like in the Seahawks game against the Skins?
Yeah, so I'm looking at a couple things. Washington's defense has been sneaky good. I've been kind of bashing them for the most part, but their defense has been solid. They're ranked 3rd pass yards per game, rushing yards per game, 9th, and they're ranked 6 points against. I'm looking at this is such a hard game because it could go really either way. I'm almost leaning Washington getting 5.5. I feel like them going back cross country. It's in Washington, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're going back to Washington. They're going from east, west, east. I feel like they just want to get out of Dodge, get their win. I think Washington's going to play really hard this game. I like Washington plus 5.5 here.
Yeah, I'm actually with you here. I also like Washington. I'm not getting sucked into the Seahawks, who won 40-3 against the Jets.
Right,
exactly. Suckered into that. Washington's just playing good football. They don't turn the ball over, and they're playing great defense. They're 4th in defensive yards allowed on the season. The Seahawks also have a big game the week after. They're playing the Rams, who beat them early in the season. That's going to be a type of game that they have circled. So that's why I do like Washington in the spot. I just think they might lose the game, but they can keep this close. Seahawks didn't play well against the Giants. They didn't play well against the Eagles. So they just haven't been playing that well lately. So for them to have a huge game last week against a terrible team, now they're going to have to come back and play good defensive units. So I'll take the 5.5 all day.
So my big issue with this game is I think Alex Smith might be a little banged up. Huge shocker. Okay. I think he has an ankle injury, so there might be a chance that Dwayne Haskins plays. I don't know how well he's going to set with what Rivera's been doing. I think Alex Smith's been kind of thriving on that for the most part. So it's like I like Washington with the 5.5 because I think they're going to play tough, but where's Dwayne Haskins' head at if he's going to play? So
No,
I think that's the only.
I think Alex Smith is playing. He's penciled in right now. He's not even undecided. Yeah, so he's playing.
Oh, if Alex Smith is playing, I definitely like the
Still
5.5.
Still good to know that he's banged
Dwayne
up.
Dwayne Haskins, if he's playing, I might steer away. So
yeah, I would not. If Haskins plays, I would not take Washington in this game. So I would definitely avoid that. Only if Alex Smith plays, then I'd be in this because I'm not trusting Haskins getting it. He might get some turnovers, which I'm not trusting him at all.
Right.
So the next game, we got the Houston Texans plus 7.5 at the Indianapolis Colts, and over under is 50.5. Who you got here?
When I look at this game, the Texans. So it's like we've been on the right side with the Texans every week. I feel like they've been a team that we've actually gauged really well. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
I think there's some teams
that we know to fade them.
This is going to be a time to fade them. This is going to be a time 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know what the Fuller situation is, the PEDs, if he's still suspended or not. I have to look into that a little bit more. But literally, the Colts have been doing everything correct. They've been looking so good against the Raiders, so I think it's a better team than Houston. This line is 7.5. It's high for a reason. I feel like that this Texas team is pretty much just done at this point. And Deshaun Watson's just on an island at this point. He's just like, what can I do? And he's just getting the crap kicked out of him left and right. Last time they did play, Indy won 26-20. It was a little close. He had a chance to cover that game. Now it's 7.5. It looks kind of easy for Houston to cover this game, but it's really not going to happen. They're just gelling at the right time. The Colts defense is playing real well. They're down some weapons with the Texans. The pass defense is terrible, 24th. The rush defense is ranked 31st. When we talked about the Colts going against a really bad rush defense, Jonathan Taylor's gone off left and right. The Texans just could score on left and right, and I think they control this game. And I like Indy minus 7.5. The over-under is 50.5. I'm not touching it because I think Indy really does come out and play, and they probably shut down this offense. So I don't know if it's going to go over under based on that. Maybe Deshaun gets a couple, whatever touchdowns at the end. But give me the Colts minus 7.5.
Yeah. The only thing that troubles me is that the Texans did get embarrassed last week, so they might come out to play. And the Colts' motivation for this is they already beat the Texans, so I don't know. And the Colts actually have the Colts have the Steelers next week, so that could be a game that they have circled as well. This just seems like a game that they don't really care. So I think the Colts, they might be able. I would probably take the over here because it was 26-20, a low-scoring game, and now it's at 50.5. So I can see the second matchup here, some points being scored. I think Watson's good enough where he can probably get 20 points again, and the Colts might be able to put up 30 points. Yeah, so I don't know. I was leaning toward the Texans too, the plus 7.5. I think this is a game that I don't trust, but I just don't see the Colts getting up. They keep putting up so many points. They're just due for a letdown game. That's all. But I don't have the balls enough to take the Texans, so that's probably just a game I'd avoid. But just by looking at the line, I would take the over in this game.
I think you're right with that. I think the fact that the over-under with the 50.5, I think Colts can score on this defense at will, and then that might be the garbage touchdowns with Deshaun Watson. Yeah. So I think if you are going to take something, 50.5 is good. I do like personally the Indy minus 7.5, but I think the over for 50.5 is great as well.
Yeah, it's tough to go against like a great quarterback that just came off of scoring 7 points. That's not like
exactly. He's going to come out and try and prove something. No, that's smart. I like it. Over 50.5. I think that's pretty solid.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good agreement there. The next game, we got the New England Patriots +2 at the Miami Dolphins. The over-under's at 41.5. This is a game where I actually like the Patriots and I like the under. They're coming off an embarrassing loss to the Rams. We both loved the Rams. We knew that was going to happen. any square better, they're going to look at this game and they're just going to see Patriots are 6-7, Dolphins are 8-5. They're -2.5. This is just too easy. But just looking deeper into this game, this is going to be a tough matchup actually for Tua, facing a great Patriots defense, and the defense has been playing well. They played good against the Rams. It's just they couldn't hold up because the Patriots couldn't move the ball at all. Before that game, we had Kyler Murray. He scored 17 points. And then we had Herbert, who got shut out to the Patriots. So these are young quarterbacks, and Belichick just knows how to mess with the heads of these young quarterbacks. So I think Tua, they're going to mess with his head. And this line just, it jumps out to you so much. They're -2 and they're home, and they're actually the best team against the spread. Any square better looks at that, they're like, oh, these guys are 10-2 against the spread or something crazy. They're hitting like 80% against the spread. So this is just a game that I like the Patriots here in this spot, so I'll take them all day here.
Yeah, so I'm looking at both things. I'm looking at Miami -2 over under 41.5. 41.5 over under. I would probably take the over, but it's not a big play. I am 100% on board with you. I love New England getting 2 here, whatever you get it at. The number one factor here, Miami's rush defense is ranked 22nd in the NFL. That's not good. And their passing yards per game is not good either, and their rush yards aren't that good either. Yeah, their defense has held up some points, but you know what? At the end of the day, if your rush defense stinks against the New England Patriots with what they've been doing, even Belichick said himself, Cam Newton's are starting next week. He's not putting Stidham in. If he was going to put Stidham in, I probably would kind of lean towards the Dolphins. But they're going to put Cam Newton.
No way would I take them. This happened though all season. I talked about it earlier in the season. Every time these quarterbacks got benched at the end of the games because they were embarrassed, they came back and they've all come.
We had great.
Yeah, the last time it happened to Cam Newton, he came back and ended up winning the game. The next game, and then there was Garoppolo. They benched him. He won the next game. This happened to multiple quarterbacks throughout the season. That next game, they come back and win. So.
So I'm looking at their schedule right now, the Patriots. So I'm looking at what you're saying here. So I'm looking at like embarrassing losses for the most part. So they lost to San Fran 6-33. They end up playing Buffalo. They end up losing 21-24, but they end up covering the game. So I think that's very important from a Bears perspective.
That's all that matters, right?
That's absolutely 100% what matters. So the fact that they ended up losing to Houston 20-27. They ended up beating Arizona at home 20-17. You're not seeing too many spots where you have 2 bad games in a row. And with Miami, which they have looked impressive, and Flores has been a good coach, you still have an edge with Belichick with the coach, and the fact that he knows this run defense stinks out loud, he's going to take advantage of it. I absolutely love the Patriots +2. I think they definitely went out, and this is a great spot for them.
Yeah, and it's the second half of the season. These great coaches, he knows how to get this defense ready. First, it was like the Saints. They were terrible the first half of the season. You finally get good coaching, and these teams turn it on in the second half and start playing real defense. And who knows? I just don't trust the Dolphins. Tua, he plays conservative. Everyone's going to be all over the Dolphins.
I think they have enough. I think they have enough footage on Tua anyway. So I think they have enough data on him to know what he can and cannot do. Tua's look good. I'm a huge fan of Tua. I think he's a really good quarterback. I think he's got a nice arm. He's a lefty, which always feels kind of weird for the most part. You always looked at like the Jalen Hurts and like the Tua comparison. Like Jalen Hurts always had his running of the legs and kind of like extending plays. Tua was just pure. He could run a little bit, but you know what? His arm was just solid. He would hit wide receivers on strides left and right. He had just perfect touch. And I think he's done really well, but I think Belichick's gonna be able to find out what he can do against this team. And even though I'm looking last time they played in September. It was early. New England won 21-11. That was that game we were all over the Dolphins about because I thought the Dolphins were in a real good spot with that. They ended up there was not much scoring that game. But
no, you were on the Dolphins. I warned you about that game.
You did warn me about it, and I still feel like that was a great play.
That was the
I
first
would've
week of
made
the
same play
season.
again.
So.
I would have made the same play again. I thought it was a good play.
I remember you just missed the back door because Fitzpatrick, they threw an interception in the end zone.
Yes. The back door was there, and I talked about the back door being there, and I knew that was in there because I know Fitzpatrick fights through. I think it's different.
That was a game I wasn't picking. I was just like, I wasn't sure who to take.
But I feel like you're at a point with two different quarterbacks. So you had Fitzpatrick, you know who's going to fight, and then he's going to fight no matter what. He's going to get that back door. But Tua here, I think he's just trying to get his feet under him, and I like what I see from him. But I think Belichick takes advantage of him here.
Yep, and they put a lot of effort out in that last game against the Chiefs, so there might be a little downer here for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. So, and then Tua against the Rams, because the Patriots also have a great pass D. That's the only sample size you can look at is that Rams game. Tua had like 93 passing yards in that game. He didn't do anything on offense. They literally got a bunch of turnovers on Goff. So the Patriots coming off an embarrassing loss, they're going to know how to protect the football here. So definitely we like the Patriots there. We'll jump into the next game. We got the Detroit Lions at the Tennessee Titans, minus 10.5. There's no over-under we have for this game. I had some notes for this game, but we're just figuring out.
Well, actually, wait a minute. So I'm looking on covers. I'm looking at covers.com. While we don't have it on some of the sportsbook we're looking for, they do have it at 51.5. So if we want to keep that as a basis, so we can do that.
Drop. If anything, I could see it being 48-49 if Stafford doesn't play, which is probably what's going to happen. He's questionable, but looking at the line, if the Titans are minus 10.5, that's a big spread. I don't see Stafford playing this game, so I had my notes. I wasn't really even sure who to take, but now that I see Stafford's probably not going to play in this game, I can't really get a good feel. I would say the only thing that jumps out to me is I would take the over in this game because I think the Titans still don't play defense, but the Titans, if they get a big lead, they're not going to play any defense, so they can score in the 30s. They don't care if the Lions put up 20-some points. So I like the over. There's not going to be bad weather or anything. The Titans will be rolling, and I just love taking overs with the Titans because they don't play defense, and the offense is explosive. So I would go over here. What do you like?
Yeah, I mean, originally anyway, this line speaks a lot to me. I guess this is very telling that Stafford's not going to play. If he was playing, it would probably be like 8.5, probably, because I think Stafford's that important to his team. I honestly don't even know who the backup quarterback is for Detroit.
Chase Daniel.
Well, he can't really score anyway.
Yeah, he played that game against the Vikings. I forget what game he played. Oh no, maybe Stafford came back that game. Never mind. I forgot Stafford wasn't supposed to play. He was in quarantine all week, but he did play that game. So yeah, I guess he hasn't played all season, but he's not a bad quarterback. I don't know. He played for the Bears, so he didn't really have weapons before. So maybe if he's got, I have to check out what's going on with Galladay. He's still always up in the air day to day. He's got to be playing pretty soon.
He's always a hot mess.
Yeah, who knows if these guys are benching their guys and don't care anymore. So,
I'm looking at covers right now. It says Galladay's out indefinitely, so he probably doesn't like these.
Okay, I didn't see that.
The corner that they drafted, he is on IR right now.
So the cornerbacks are done. Yep, they're done.
Yeah, so he's out. I mean, they really, and Trufont's even out definitely with the hamstring. That was another corner of theirs. I mean, we sniffed this out with the Texans before. 10.5 looks like it's going to be the play. Jump on it now. I think it's going to go up at this point. It might go up a couple more points in the next couple of days. I think Tennessee's the play. I think they should win by 2 touchdowns, not even trying at this point, looks like.
And who knows, like Stafford's a gamer sometimes, so I would just wait to take this game though too, because I don't even know. It still says undecided, so I don't know if he is playing. It's a rib problem, so who knows what ribs, like what's going on, what the deal is. So this is just a game that I'm probably just avoiding. That's all, because I there's too many question marks with what's going on here. And
yeah.
Tennessee did have that blowout win last week against the Jaguars. I don't know if they're just going to keep blowing out teams. But again, it's just a game that I'd avoid. I do like the over. I think it'll get there. Titans just keep playing in these over type games, and the game went under last week, so I could see this game going over. So we'll jump into the next game. We got the San Francisco 49ers minus 3.5 at the Dallas Cowboys. The over-unders at 45.5. This is a game picking the side is just tough. The Cowboys, I can't really judge them because off of last week, it looks like they were getting dominated. Like the Bengals were moving the ball easily. They were just getting some crazy turnovers. There was just big swings in that game, but that's what happens when two bad teams play each other.
Right.
I'm expecting the 49ers, though. I think Mullins can move the ball pretty easy in this game. He's been facing a lot of stiff competition lately on defense, like facing teams like the Rams. He's been facing the Bills, aren't great defense, but these are all like good teams. He's facing the Cowboys now, lower echelon team. So I think Mullins can get enough points. I see this being an over type of game because the Cowboys offense didn't do anything last week. So the over-under is at good value here, 45.5. I think this could be a 27-24 type of game. This is kind of like, what was it, the Bears game last week. I mean, we knew that the Bears were going to kind of just put up some points randomly. We couldn't really get a feel of that game, but has the feel of this game. I think there's just going to be points. I can't really decide on this game. What do you think?
So I'm looking at what the Cowboys have been doing. So you're talking about what coming off big games. So I'm looking at some of their big games. So they played the Giants, which I had a survivor for. 37-34, they won. That was a game with Prescott. The next game, they only scored 10 points. They won 31-20 against Minnesota. The next game, they only scored 16. So if I'm looking at something, I'm almost looking at the under on the Dallas Cowboys team total. I think the fact that they put up so many points the game before, I think they have a hard time doing it again. So I like their under on their team total.
Okay, nice. Yeah, nothing I'm going to argue about on this game. Don't worry. So.
I mean, that's what I'm just based on what I'm looking at and what they've been doing. I'm looking at past history.
Mm-hmm.
I think 3.5 is a little too much. I think Mullins can put up a decent game against them. I know the rush defense stinks, and the rush defense is good for San Fran, but I actually kind of like the team total under for Dallas. I think they've been dropping a lot of goose eggs when it comes down to after following a really good performance.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So the next game, we got the Chicago Bears at the Minnesota Vikings, minus 3.5, and the over-unders at 46.5. Who you got here?
Yeah, so Chicago, they just came off that big win where they were just dominating, feeling high and mighty, and then you got Minnesota here. The number one thing I'm coming down to is Chicago's defense has looked pretty good for the most part. They're ranked 9th points against, but their weakest point has been their rush defense. And meanwhile, while taking Minnesota as a favorite has been a really hard situation to take them for. I don't like this game. The over-under is 46.5. I actually kind of would lean Minnesota here. I think their run game could really set up nicely for the pass game against them, especially coming off a big win. I don't know if Nagy can keep these guys going for 2 games in a row. I think that's going to be a really hard spot for him. So if I had to lean something, I would lean Minnesota minus 3.5.
Okay. I'm actually opposite here, you. I actually like the Bears. I'll take the points here all day. Matt Nagy, he's actually 4-1 against the Vikings. His only loss was this year. I actually was pissed because I had the Bears that last game. He took his first loss against them, and it was a 13-19 game. They almost won the game. The Bears played absolutely terrible in that game and still almost won. That was also the time where the Vikings were just red hot. Everybody was all over them. They just came off beating the Packers and everything. So the Vikings were at their best. Now they're coming back to reality. They're starting to just play bad teams close. They're losing to the good teams. But it all comes down to I just do not trust Cousins as a favorite versus a good defense.
Yeah, that was my main issue.
Yeah. He put up 11 points against the Colts. He put up 14 points versus the Bucs, and then he put up the 19 against the Bears last meeting. So with Trubisky, they're starting to put up a little more points. The Vikings Hendricks was out last week at linebacker, so they're a mess right now. I don't trust the Vikings at all. This is a division game. The Bears lost the first one. I think this game's going to be close. So give me the Bears here plus 3.5.
All right.
So we'll jump into the next game. We got the New York Jets at the Los Angeles Rams minus 16.5, and the over/under is 44.5. Who you got here?
Yeah, so I kind of rode the Jets last week. I kind of liked them in that spot against Seattle with their terrible pass defense, and obviously I was wrong. They could not score against historically bad pass defense, and maybe like we talked about before the show a little bit. Maybe it's the Jamal Adams factor. He really want to stick at this team, but overall, I don't know if the Rams are going to really blow out a team. Like, I feel like they're going to win this game. I have no problem winning this game. I mean, when I'm looking at the paper, their rush defense is the best part with the Jets. They're ranked 12th. So that's pretty much the Rams offense. They run the ball, play action, things of that nature. So the over-under is 44.5. I think the under looks like a pretty good play. And hold my nose once again. I know the Rams are just great left and right, and I'm probably going to take them for my survivor. I finally covered with the survivor last week, just a straight blowout victory.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to take something, it would be the Jets plus 16.5, but I just personally cannot take it.
Yeah, if I were to pick this game, I'd actually just take the Rams because I can't. Once a team that was a pretty big blowout, and they're the worst team in the NFL. I just feel like they might just give up against these really great teams. Like they can't handle a team like this. That Rams are probably the best defense in the NFL right now. I mean, them and the Saints. This reminds me, I remember the Jets were like plus 17 last year against the Ravens, if you remember that. And I was just like, there's no way the Ravens cover this huge number. You look at the score, you're like, oh, wow, they're killing the Jets. And this is definitely, the Jets are a lot worse this year. The thing is
they're a lot worse.
I probably would have leaned Jets, but now I'm starting to see the Rams. They're actually starting to be a lot more balanced. They got Cam Akers now. He's taken over at running back, and now this is late in the season. They're starting to just play great balance.
Yeah, Cam Akers is solid.
Yeah, so I can see them definitely getting in the 30s. I think this is going to be like a 31-10. They'll just get the cover, but if I were to side, I'm definitely not putting my money on the Jets, especially if they could.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally not going to put money on the Jets either. I mean, I just don't. I mean, off of a historically bad pass defense, and they couldn't even score a touchdown. How could I personally take that? I mean, unless it's like a true like wake up call, like, hey, let's not get embarrassed this week again.
No,
but I just think that Darnold's just been terrible, and I don't think Flacco's any better. Obviously, they need to get a quarterback. Hopefully, they can get Lawrence, unless he decides to just stay another year so he doesn't play for the Jets. That might just come down to it.
And the team's probably I think who knows, they could have liked Greg Williams. They probably just want Gaze out of there. They probably can't stand him. So who knows what's going on in the locker room. Maybe they lost their defensive coordinator. They probably liked him, and then he was gone. So now who knows? Maybe they're just not playing good defense now. They might just give up.
Right.
So the next game, we got the Philadelphia Eagles at the Arizona Cardinals, minus 6.5. The over-under's at 48.5. Who do you got here?
Yeah, so Eagles coming off a big dog win. No one thought they would actually win with Jalen Hurts. Doug Peterson calling great plays for him. Defense stepping up. They have been stepping up this year for the most part. Arizona coming off a huge win against the Giants. Well, not a huge win, just a dominating win, if you will. You know me. I've been on the Cardinals train all year. They pretty much cashed that over, so that's done with. I thought they're going to be a good team. I thought Kyler Murray into his second year would be fantastic. The over-under is 40.5. I absolutely love the over 40.5. I think you get it now. It's good. I think Kyler Murray is going to be able to score on the Eagles' defense at will. I think him being a running quarterback can actually throw. I don't think he's going to get a whole lot of balls batted down for the most part. I know he's had that issue because he's small. He's probably smaller than me, honestly, for the most part, which is I'm not really that tall anyway. But I think the fact that he should have a really good game with Hopkins should have a field day. I think Slade's kind of banged up anyway for the most part. I think there's points going to be all over the place with this. If Philadelphia was able to score that many points on the Saints, and the Saints knew and I knew the Saints knew what they're going to get into. I think Hurts is getting the right play calls for himself. So I like the over 48.5.
Yep. Yeah, it's tough to stop those RPOs. I mean, it's a young man's league. That's why I don't trust Wentz, because if you don't have a great offensive line, you can't just depend that you're going to have a great offensive line. Not everyone has a great offensive line. So anyone can play with a bad look at Deshaun Watson. He puts up points almost every week, and he's got the worst offensive line in the NFL. So as long as you got a scrambling quarterback that can throw, it's a young man's league now who can scramble. So definitely love Jalen Hurts here. Basically, they're coming. It was a great win last week, and the Eagles, when it's the end of the season, they just stay hot. It's just their MO. They always play great when they just play great when they're jacked up. So they're jacked up into the season. I remember when they had Foles, it was the year they just made the wild card. It wasn't even the year they won the Super Bowl. They ended up covering that minus they were plus 14 against the Rams. They ended up covering that outright at the end of the year when the Rams were one of the best teams. And then the next game, they ended up beating the Texans in a close one. So I actually think the Eagles can win this game, but I'm not going to take the Eagles to win outright. But I think covering the spread, this
I think
is pretty high. I think they can cover this spread easily. I think Hurts is a special player, and Doug Peterson, he's 11-3 in his career when Carson Wentz is in the starter. So you don't know whose fault it is in these games. Give the people that Doug Peterson wants. You just can't win with Carson Wentz now. Wentz was amazing before, but this was 3 years ago. So it's a different time. The guy tore his ACL. It's not like he's a scrambler. So you can't just have a guy sitting back there in the pocket with a bad offensive line. It's just not, he's not going to work out for the team. But definitely I would side with the Eagles plus 6.5 here. McLeod's out, but Kyler Murray, he's been struggling on offense too. So he hasn't really been putting up a lot of points lately. But I mean, I think he's going to score in the 20s in this game, like high 20s. But I'm just saying he's not like what he was in the first half of the season, getting those high totals in the 30s. So, but with McLeod out, he probably will take advantage. So definitely like the Eagles there. The next game, we got the Chiefs minus 2.5 at the Saints. The over-under's at 50.5. What do you got here?
Yeah, these are two teams that have been top of their divisions. The Saints, they've been incredible. They just came off pretty much an embarrassing loss for the most part against the Eagles, and the Chiefs in a game that they probably had a good chance of losing. Ended up just coming out of nowhere and blowing out. Chiefs are minus 2.5, kind of a weird line for the most part. I like the over 50.5. It's hard for me to take an under at this point for the Chiefs. I did it last week. He threw 3 interceptions, and the game still went over. So I'm at a loss of words with this Chiefs team. I would take the over 50.5.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if Breeze is playing. If he's not playing, that's a big factor. It'll be his first game back, though, so he's going to be rusty. So I don't even know what to trust in that situation. Like you said, the Chiefs, they're minus 2.5. The Chiefs always cover spreads, but they've been playing a lot of close games lately. So you really don't know what to take. The Saints gave up a lot of points last week to the Eagles. You got to think that the Saints defense got to be kind of pissed off about that they were the best in the NFL in defense and they had a bad performance. But how can you go against the Chiefs? What are you going to say? Oh, they're going to come this week and stop Mahomes. I'm done betting against Mahomes. I realized that never to do that, but now ever since last week, don't bet against Mahomes in an under game. That was just not a dumb pick, but just something I tell myself not to do again. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not even giving anyone a pick for this game. This is like almost a Super Bowl matchup, and I don't know what's going on. I'm definitely.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. You go into the next game, Cleveland and New York Giants, the Sunday night game. I gotta get a beer because I need a lot of venting. So you start it off.
All right, so we're jumping to the Browns minus 4.5 at the Giants. The over/under's at 45. This is a weird game to me. I actually just like the under in this game. The Giants, they played horrible last week because they just had a terrible spot. They were facing the Cardinals, which was my big pick last week. I love the Cardinals because they were desperate. They were coming off 3 straight losses. So They're definitely going to win that game. Daniel Jones just looked terrible because of his hamstring. His footwork just looked terrible to start the game. Once I saw how bad he looked, I knew the Cardinals were definitely covering that game. I think the Baker Mayfield, he's going to be surprised by the Giants in this game, by how good the cornerbacks are. So I think he's going to struggle a little bit. So I'll take the under 45 here because I don't think Baker's going to be putting up a lot of points. He's been putting up a lot of points lately. So give me the Giants and the Browns under 45 here. Who do you like in this game?
All right. Well, I had to bend a little bit because this Cleveland game was unbelievable last week, and it was a point where we were going to be like, hey, like it looked bad at first, and I was about to text him like, oh, this looks terrible, this is unbelievable. Then they started making a comeback, and they almost looked like they were going to win the game outright, and I was like, this is incredible, like we're going to do this, and then we're in a spot where we're up 2 points. I mean, 1 point. Kick the field goal, we're good to go, and then all of a sudden, shit hits the fan, and then there's like a BS safety. So I'm looking at this here. So I'm looking at Cleveland at the New York Giants. I know I heard you talking about while I was getting my beer, and I was looking for the right beer and all. So I like the under 45. I actually like the Giants plus 4.5. I feel like Daniel Jones can keep these guys enough in. I think this was such a heartbreaking loss for the Browns. I think this sticks with them, especially even to Sunday night. And I think the Giants get up for this game, especially in a must-win game for the Giants.
Yeah.
I think 4.5 is plenty of points where the Giants could win this game outright. I don't know if they will per se, but I think their defense can keep them in this game. And I like the Giants plus 4.5, honestly.
Did you watch any of the Giants last week against the Cardinals at all or no?
Yeah, I did. I watched some of it on the Red Zone.
But
I was watching some of it.
Daniel Jones, his hamstring, he looked terrible in the pocket. Like he just looked hurt. That's the only reason why I did like the Giants, but just it's concerning how bad he looked last week. Right. Just makes me nervous. But this has a feel to me like just an ugly, low-scoring game.
Super ugly game.
Yeah. Like one of those, a lot of field goals, like a 15-12. I don't know. It's just one of those weird, like, because that's how I think a lot of people are going to be betting the Browns here. So I think the Giants are going to get an ugly cover. Yeah, exactly. So definitely Giants, and I like the under in that game. Last game we got is Steelers minus 12.5 at the Bengals. The over-under's at 40. What do you got here? Or 40.5.
Give me a real dud here for the winner here. So I got Pittsburgh minus 12.5 at Cincy. Over-under's 40.5. I truly don't feel like Pittsburgh can really blow anybody out at this point. They've been so downhill with everything. I mean, I'm looking at my board right now. Cincy's just pure garbage down the field. Like, it's just all red. It's all terrible. Pittsburgh, they look great on paper, but you know what? They've been really faltered a lot for the most part. Over-under's 40.5. I would lean the under. I think the Steelers just want to get out of this win and, just be done with it. They're not even really even looking at this game. I think 12.5 is too much for this game. I think they can score enough to do something here. This might be like a 20 to 10 game, and that's about it. So that's what I'm looking at.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. In the last meeting, I mean, Burrow played, but it was 36-10. It actually just went over the 45.5. So now that this total's only 40.5, it's really low. But like you said, I would just take the points. Like I remember when the Bengals played the Dolphins, I was scared. I'm like, the Dolphins are playing a lot better. But that was Brandon Allen was just starting his first or second game. Now he's starting his fourth game. He's starting to get more comfortable with the offense. I think he just does enough. He could get 10 to 13 points. The Steelers could win 24-13 and still get the cover here. Division game, I think they get the cover. And the Steelers linebackers are banged up. What he could do is just take advantage of those short passes. That's all he's got to do. He doesn't have to go deep. He just take it. Yeah, exactly. So I think, Bengals is a solid pick there. And Steelers are another team that have been covering a bunch of spreads early in the season. Late in the season, those teams don't cover because the spreads get imploded on these teams and they can't cover those spreads. So definitely like the Bengals here. So we'll jump into your survivor. You had that easy Seahawks win had to feel good. You didn't have to sweat anything out. That's what happens usually when you go against the Jets. So that's what happens. The Jets had a close game the week before against the Raiders. So the Jets
which I have
another close game. Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. So what do you got for this week? I haven't even taken a look yet.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the board. I think I have to take them. I have them in my back pocket. I'm going to take the Rams. They're like minus 16.5.
I can't believe you still have them. Wow.
I still have the Rams. I haven't touched them yet. So it just worked out that way. I was just taking teams that were dominating in the beginning for like about the first 4 or 5 weeks. And then as I got to like week 10, 11 or so, then I started trying to take a little moves. Like I took the Giants that week against the Bengals. Like that was a big move for me. Like those kind of things. So I'm going to take the Rams this week. If I lose with like a 16-point spread, then so be it. I think they're just a better team. I think Jets are on the downfall of everything. Like I'm not too worried about them winning that game overall. If I'm looking at anybody else's game, I honestly would look at the Colts. I think the Colts win this game. They sweep the series. And I think Green Bay wins as well. I think those are a couple I'm looking at for the most part. Those are the three. But I'm going to take the Rams because I still have them. I don't know how many people still have the Rams. I think I'm still about 7,000 people left in my pool still. So hopefully a lot of people don't have the Rams.
Would you say you have 7,000?
Still, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Really?
Yeah, it's still 7,000 because a lot of guys didn't lose.
What is this? What is this? A $2 entry fee? How is there 7,000 people left?
No. It was a free roll. It was a free roll.
Okay.
So it was a free roll, and there was about like 50. There was about 50-60,000 people, and it dropped down to 7. So
should have gotten you in my serious Survivor. You could have made some money for. Or no, I got 2 or 3 years ago in New Jersey. I was in the Survivor, and it literally got up to $1 million. And I saw on ESPN they shut down the whole shut down. The guy got arrested. It got shut down, and everyone lost their money. Like it was like $100.
Oh, I've already done that. That was pretty wild.
I was like, it's on ESPN, but no one ever knows. All the money gets sent up to New York, and nobody knows who it goes to. So
yeah, exactly.
But definitely. That's got to be an easy winner. Have you looked at next week at all? Because it looks like that's
so let me look at next week.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be tough.
We're looking at next week since we're right here anyway. So I'm going to take the Rams. That's pretty much what I'm going with
for this week.
And then I'm looking at week 6. So we're almost done. We're at week 16.
Do you still have the Browns?
I still have the Browns. I haven't.
That's what you want to bank on, is you're hoping that the Browns play sloppy against the Giants next week. So then you can actually take the Browns and love the Browns against. And no matter what, you're probably going to take the Browns because I'm looking now. They're actually look-ahead line is minus 10.5 at the Jets. You got an improved Browns team. I just do not see them losing to the Jets. The Jets might just lose the rest of their games now. I do not see them winning a game.
It's just hard because I can almost feel like the Browns could lose this game. It sounds crazy to me to think this way.
No way.
Because I'm like, I don't want to get screwed with like 2 weeks. Like I'm really banking on the Jets not winning a game. And I mean, sometimes you can do that with like the lines and things like that, but
it's very tough. You get to week 16 and you got a 10.5 favorite. That rarely happens. So just thank your lucky stars that's still going on. Sometimes,
but you know what? The Browns are 9-4 right now, so they need to win as many games as possible just to stay alive to be in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, and
I think it's a good spot.
They beat the bad teams.
If I'm looking at anybody else for next week, possibly, I'm looking at the list right now.
I'm telling you, next week is so tough. I mean, this is a type of game where Houston's minus 8.5 next week against the Bengals. But
yeah, you talked about
if you have the Browns, I would take the Browns. But Houston's a team that underachieves. Those underachieved teams, those are the ones that have that letdown, just ugly loss. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't see the Browns getting that ugly loss because this is just the year that everything's going their way. I mean, except for last weekend. I mean, the Ravens were hungry, so they lost that game. But Browns against the worst team in the NFL. They're going to just pound the rock.
And then honestly, though, Week 17 is going to be the ultimate crapshoot because you have to figure out who's going to be playing and who's not and everything. So
that's true too. But that's a good thing because the Jets play the Patriots the last week, and the Patriots maybe they'll have something to play for at the end.
They have no. You know what? I think they could actually lose that game. It's kind of crazy. So
I know. Yeah, there's probably not much.
I mean, if the Jets have locked up like the worst spot, why not win that game?
Yeah. That's true too. Oh, they did play them close in that one game, and they had Flacco. So
yeah,
it's going to be.
We'll see. But overall, though, I like the Rams because I already have them. They're 17-point favorites. It just worked out that way. It wasn't planned originally that way for the most part. Believe you me, I haven't looked this far ahead. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been trying to be conservative as possible. I've been honestly, I personally haven't had much success with survivors because I've tried to overthink myself. But I've been just trying to go the first about 9 weeks or so of just guys I know that are definitely going to win, the good teams, and just get them through it. And that was it. So, but then now I'm at a point now. I'm lucky enough. I have the Browns. I have the Rams going against the Jets. So I have those.
You got a playoff team still. That's great.
I got playoff teams that are still looking to win. And overall, I mean, like, I want to almost be be honest with you, I wouldn't be shocked if the Skins beat the Seahawks. It just seems really weird.
Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, I'm banking on it because I feel like people are just going to throw that out there if they don't have the Rams that week. So, see.
No, definitely. The Seahawks did this at the end of the year last year. They were getting banged up, and then they ended up losing to the Cardinals. They were -8 favorite, I remember, at the end of the season.
And I think a lot of people are going to take the Browns this week, and the Browns could lose this week. They could.
That's what I'm saying. That's good for you on that one because that just the look on their Baker's face after that loss, like that could have just been demoralizing. Yeah, they had a lot of energy, and they actually played really good on offense. So that could just be. They haven't had that one sloppy game, and Baker never plays good against good pass defense. Like he got lucky this past week that everyone was banged up for the Ravens secondary, but that's why people were saying that he sucked last year. But I looked at all his games; he was facing probably 3/4 of his game were all great cornerback teams. So he's going up against great cornerbacks in the Giants this game. It's just a bad matchup for him. So definitely going to be an ugly game. Who knows who's going to win that game? You know?
Yeah.
But that should close out the show. Let's have a good week this week. Make sure you guys hit the like button down below. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you guys follow us. We're on Twitter and on Instagram. Follow us at Tackle the Board. You can follow my personal pages. I'm at Russ Reese for my free picks. And if you guys want to become a VIP member where I give out all my big moves, follow me at Vegas Line Reader. And you guys can also check out Chris. He's been red hot. I mean, last week he was 12-0. I mean, he took some losses this weekend, but he is human. He's not a robot.
Yes.
Tell them where they can follow you, Chris.
They can find me at Chris Ebom. They can also find me on OTT Matchups. We're on kind of the break of golf right now. Once we get into January 7th, we're in the Century Tournament of Champions, a little bigger purse. Justin Thomas won last year, so we're going to have a lot of big names. Probably Dustin Johnson will be there. A lot of big names, so we're waiting for those movements at that time. But for the most part, college football, I've been pretty strong. I'm at 62%, which has been pretty amazing. That's real great to follow because being at above 16% is outrageous. So being at 62, I couldn't be any happier. If you're at the 53% percentage, you're winning money. So think about that. If I'm at 62, that's even that much better. And then the NFL, we've been doing great at that as well. We had kind of a rough week last week, but we're going to hit some of those weeks. But then, hey, there was weeks where I went 12-0, good weeks from that and everything. And Russ crushed it last week, being 5-1. We actually murdered that week. Yeah, I think it was probably a 17-1 week between the both of us, which is outrageous. So if you follow us, be sure to enjoy our content. At Reese Ebom, at OTT Matchups, if you will, at Tackle the Board, all those good things. Follow them up. You don't want to miss out. And thanks again. Remember to subscribe.
Oh, yeah. And let's make some money this weekend, guys.
Yeah, let's tackle that board.